Our story begins in the ancient Middle East, a land of sweeping deserts, fertile river valleys, and bustling trade routes. Here, among the shifting sands and the ruins of forgotten cities, the fate of a people is set in motion, not by the decree of a mighty king or the rise of a great empire, but by the quiet faith of a single family. This is a world where gods are many, and the future is uncertain, yet one man dares to listen for a different voice. In the city of Ur, a thriving center of culture and commerce along the banks of the Euphrates, Abraham lives with his family. Surrounded by the towering ziggurats and the hum of daily life, Abraham hears a call, a voice that promises him something extraordinary, a new land, a new beginning, and the birth of a nation that will bless the world. It is a promise that defies logic, for Abraham is already old, and his wife Sarah has never borne a child, yet faith stirs within him, and he chooses to believe. With little more than hope and trust, Abraham gathers his family and possessions. They leave behind the familiar comforts of Ur, setting out on a journey across harsh deserts and unknown lands. The road to Canaan is long and perilous, filled with uncertainty and danger. Yet, every step is guided by the promise of a future that only faith can see. Sarah walks beside him, her heart heavy with doubt and longing, but she too is swept up in the dream of a new home. Abraham becomes the first patriarch, a father not just to his own children, but to generations yet unborn. His faith, tested by hardship and time, becomes the bedrock of a people's identity. He builds altars in the wilderness, marking the places where the divine promise is renewed. Through moments of doubt and acts of courage, Abraham's story becomes a testament to the power of belief in the unseen. The story continues through his son Isaac, a child born against all odds, whose very existence is a miracle. Isaac, gentle and contemplative, carries the promise forward. He in turn fathers Jacob, a man whose life is marked by struggle and transformation. Jacob, later called Israel, wrestles with both men and God, earning a new name and a new destiny. The family grows, each generation shaped by the trials and blessings of the journey. Jacob's 12 sons become the ancestors of the 12 tribes of Israel. Each son, with his own strengths and flaws, contributes to the tapestry of a people. Around campfires under the desert stars, stories are told, of dreams, rivalries, and reconciliation. The family's journey is not just physical, but spiritual, as they learn what it means to be chosen, to be set apart, and to carry a promise larger than themselves. Among Jacob's sons, Joseph stands out. Gifted with dreams and visions, he is envied by his brothers who sell him into slavery. Joseph's journey takes him far from home, across the sands to the land of Egypt, a place of strange gods and powerful rulers. Betrayed and alone, Joseph's faith is tested in ways he could never have imagined. In Egypt, he is thrown into prison, accused of crimes he did not commit. Yet, even in the darkness, his gift for interpreting dreams brings him hope. Joseph's wisdom and integrity catch the attention of Pharaoh himself. Through a series of remarkable events, Joseph rises from prisoner to become the second most powerful man in Egypt. He oversees the land's resources, preparing for years of famine foretold in dreams. His journey from slave to ruler is a story of resilience, forgiveness, and the mysterious ways in which destiny unfolds. Meanwhile, famine devastates Canaan. Jacob and his family, desperate for survival, hear of Egypt's abundance and make the difficult journey south. The land that once seemed so distant now becomes their only hope. The reunion between Joseph and his brothers is fraught with emotion, guilt, fear, and ultimately, forgiveness. Joseph reveals his identity not with anger but with compassion, seeing the hand of providence in all that has happened. Joseph forgives his brothers and invites the entire family to settle in the fertile region of Goshen. Here, in the shadow of Egypt's greatness, the Israelites find peace and prosperity. They build homes, tend flocks, and raise children. For a time they flourish, their numbers growing with each passing year. The promise given to Abraham seems to be coming true, as his descendants become a great people in a foreign land. The Israelites prosper and multiply in Egypt, living in peace for generations. Their lives are woven into the fabric of Egyptian society, yet they remain distinct, holding on to their traditions and stories. The memory of Canaan, the land of promise, lingers in their hearts, passed down from parent to child. In the evenings, elders recount the journey from Ur, the faith of Abraham, and the dreams of Joseph. But time brings change. A new pharaoh rises to power, one who knows nothing of Joseph or the debt Egypt owes to the Israelites. He sees only a foreign people, growing strong and numerous, and fears they may one day turn against him. Suspicion breeds oppression, and the peace of Goshen is shattered. Fearing their numbers, Pharaoh enslaves the Israelites, forcing them into hard labor. Once free and prosperous, they are now bound to the will of a ruler who sees them as little more than tools for his grand ambitions. Day after day they toil under the burning sun, building monuments to a power that is not their own. Their songs of hope turn to cries of anguish. Their cries for freedom echo through Egypt, rising from the fields and the brickyards, from the hearts of mothers and fathers who remember a time of peace. They pray for deliverance, for a sign that the promise to Abraham has not been forgotten. In the darkness of oppression, hope flickers like a distant flame. In this time of suffering, a child is born, a child whose life is marked by danger and destiny. His mother, desperate to save him, places him in a basket and sets him afloat on the Nile. This child, Moses, will grow to become the leader who will challenge Pharaoh and lead his people to freedom. His birth is a quiet act of defiance, a mother's hope against the might of an empire. The journey from Abraham to Egypt is one of faith, betrayal, forgiveness, and survival. It is a story of ordinary people called to extraordinary purpose, of families torn apart and reunited, of dreams lost and found. Through every trial, the thread of hope endures, binding one generation to the next. This story sets the stage for a people who will endure unimaginable hardship, yet never lose sight of the promise that began with Abraham. They are shaped by adversity, strengthened by faith, and united by a longing for freedom. Their journey is far from over. In fact, it is only just beginning. The Israelites' story is no longer just about a single family, it is about the birth of a nation. Their numbers swell, their identity deepens, and their longing for a homeland grows ever stronger. In the shadow of Egypt's power, they remember who they are and where they come from. Their time in Egypt, from prosperity to slavery, will shape their identity for generations to come. The memory of abundance and the reality of suffering become twin pillars of their story. Through it all, the promise to Abraham remains a beacon, guiding them through the darkest nights. Even in the darkest times, the promise to Abraham is not forgotten. The prayers of the people rise like incense, carrying with them the hope of deliverance. They cling to the belief that their suffering is not the end, but the beginning of something greater. The seeds of hope are sown in the land of Egypt, watered by tears and nourished by faith. Children grow up hearing stories of a land they have never seen, of ancestors who walked with God, and of a future that waits just beyond the horizon. Soon, a leader will rise to answer their cries, a man shaped by two worlds, called to bridge the gap between slavery and freedom. The stage is set for a confrontation that will shake the foundations of Egypt and change the course of history. The next chapter begins with a single word, Exodus. It is a word that will come to symbolize liberation, faith, and the enduring power of hope. The journey from Egypt will not be easy, but it will define a people and inspire generations to come. And so the story moves from the banks of the Nile to the edge of a new destiny. The Israelites stand on the threshold of freedom, their hearts full of longing and their eyes fixed on the promise that began with Abraham. Their journey is far from over, but the seeds of hope have taken root, ready to blossom in the chapters yet to come. The Israelites' cries are answered. For generations they have toiled under the harsh yoke of Egyptian masters, their voices rising in desperate hope for deliverance. In the darkness of oppression, a glimmer of hope emerges, a promise that their suffering will not last forever. Moses, a child of Israel raised in Pharaoh's palace, is chosen to lead them to freedom. Torn between two worlds, Moses grows up surrounded by the luxury and power of Egypt, yet he never forgets his true heritage. When he witnesses the suffering of his people, he is compelled to act, risking everything to confront Pharaoh and demand justice. Through plagues and miracles, waters turning to blood, swarms of locusts, darkness covering the land, Pharaoh's resolve is tested again and again. Each plague is a sign, a message that the God of Israel is powerful and will not be ignored. At last, after unimaginable suffering, Pharaoh relents and lets the Israelites go. At the edge of the Red Sea, the Israelites find themselves trapped between the waters and the pursuing Egyptian army. In a moment of divine intervention, the sea parts, creating a path of escape. The Israelites cross on dry ground while the waters crash back upon their pursuers, sealing their freedom with a miracle that will be remembered for generations. The Exodus becomes the defining story of their people, a tale of liberation, faith, and the enduring power of hope. It is retold around campfires and inscribed in ancient scrolls, shaping the identity of a nation that will never forget its journey from bondage to freedom. In the vast, unforgiving Sinai desert, the Israelites wander for 40 years. The journey is long and arduous, filled with hunger, thirst, and uncertainty, yet it is in this wilderness that they are transformed, from a collection of former slaves into a united people, bound by shared trials and a common destiny. At the foot of Mount Sinai, amidst thunder and fire, Moses ascends to meet with God. He returns with the 10 Commandments, etched in stone. These laws become the foundation of their society, guiding their actions and beliefs. The commandments are more than rules, they are a covenant, a sacred agreement that binds the people to their God and to each other. The wilderness is harsh and unforgiving. Scorching days and freezing nights test their endurance. Yet, it is in these moments of struggle that the Israelites discover their strength. Around flickering campfires they share stories, comfort one another, and forge bonds that will last for generations. Through hardship, the Israelites learn to rely on each other and on their God. They face hunger and thirst, but manna falls from the sky and water springs from the rock. Each challenge is met with faith and perseverance, teaching them the value of community and trust. As they approach the borders of Canaan, anticipation and anxiety fill the air. The land before them is not empty, it is home to powerful city-states, fortified and formidable. The promise of a homeland is within reach, but it will not be claimed without struggle. Their arrival signals the beginning of new conflicts. The Israelites must face armies and overcome walls, but they are driven by the belief that this land is their inheritance, a promise made to their ancestors, now on the verge of fulfillment. Under the leadership of Joshua, Moses' successor, the Israelites cross the Jordan River. The waters part once more, echoing the miracle of the Red Sea. Their first challenge is the mighty city of Jericho, its walls towering and impenetrable. Through faith and determination, the walls fall, and the conquest of Canaan begins. The battles that follow are long and difficult. Each tribe must fight for its share of the land, facing fierce resistance and enduring many hardships. But with courage and unity, the Israelites prevail. The land is divided among the 12 tribes, each receiving a portion of the promise. At last the Israelites settle in their new home. They build stone houses, plant vineyards and olive groves, and begin to farm the land. The wilderness is behind them, and a new chapter of life begins, one rooted in the soil of their ancestors' dreams. No longer wanderers, the Israelites become a nation. Families gather in villages, children play in the fields, and elders share wisdom beneath the shade of olive trees. Their identity is no longer defined by slavery or exile, but by the land they now call home. The journey through the wilderness was more than a struggle for survival, it was the crucible in which a people were born. Every hardship, every triumph, every lesson learned along the way has shaped them into a nation with a unique destiny. Their laws, faith, and unity are forged in hardship. Around fires, stories of the Exodus and the wilderness are passed down, reminding each generation of the price of freedom and the strength found in adversity. These stories become the backbone of their culture, inspiring hope and resilience. The land of Canaan is not just a place, it is a promise kept, a symbol of hope fulfilled after years of wandering. The sun rises over fertile hills, illuminating a future filled with possibility and challenge. The Israelites are ready for a new era. They have overcome unimaginable odds, but the journey is far from over. Ahead lie new challenges, internal divisions, external threats, and the ongoing task of building a just and lasting society. The next chapter will test their unity and their dreams. Leaders will rise and fall, and the people will be called upon to remember the lessons of the wilderness as they strive to fulfill their destiny. From the wilderness, a nation emerges, hardened by struggle, inspired by faith, and prepared for both greatness and adversity. Their journey is a testament to the power of hope and the enduring strength of the human spirit. Their story is just beginning. The legacy of the wilderness will guide them as they face the future, reminding them always of where they came from and the promise that lies ahead. In the land of Canaan, long before the rise of mighty empires, the Israelites lived scattered across hills and valleys, forming a patchwork of tribes. Each tribe had its own territory, customs, and leaders, but they shared a common ancestry and faith. Life was often uncertain, shaped by the rhythms of the land and the ever-present threat of neighboring peoples. There was no central government, no single ruler to unite them all. Instead, the Israelites existed as a loose confederation, bound together by tradition and the stories of their ancestors. In times of peace, the tribes lived independently, but when danger loomed, when invaders threatened or famine struck, they turned to charismatic leaders known as judges. Figures like Deborah, a prophetess and warrior, and Samson, famed for his strength, rose to guide and defend the people. These judges were not kings, but chosen by circumstance and believed to be inspired by the divine. Yet, as the years passed, the people grew restless. The constant cycle of crisis and deliverance left them longing for stability. They looked at the powerful kingdoms around them, Egypt, Assyria, and others, and saw the strength that came from unity under a single ruler. The Israelites began to desire a king, someone who could unite the tribes, lead them in battle, and bring lasting peace. Their wish was granted with Saul, a tall and imposing figure chosen to be Israel's first king. Saul rallied the tribes and won early victories, but his reign was troubled by internal strife and personal struggles. Despite his promise, Saul's leadership faltered, and his story ended in tragedy on the battlefield, leaving the nation in turmoil. Out of this chaos emerged David, a young shepherd from Bethlehem. David's courage was legendary. He defeated the giant Goliath with nothing but a sling and a stone. His rise to power was marked by both triumph and hardship as he navigated the dangers of court intrigue and civil war. Eventually, David united the tribes, conquered the fortress of Jerusalem, and established it as the capital of a new, united kingdom. Under David's rule, Israel experienced a golden age. The nation was strong, its borders secure, and its people united as never before. Jerusalem became not just a political center but a spiritual heart for the people. David's reign was remembered for its justice, its poetry, and its vision of a people bound together by faith and destiny. After David, his son Solomon inherited the throne. Solomon was renowned for his wisdom, his wealth, and his ability to forge alliances with neighboring kingdoms. He presided over an era of peace and prosperity, and his greatest achievement was the construction of the first temple in Jerusalem, a magnificent sanctuary that became the center of worship and a symbol of the nation's faith. But beneath the surface, trouble was brewing. Solomon's ambitious building projects required heavy taxes and forced labor, placing a growing burden on the people. While the kingdom flourished on the outside, resentment simmered among the tribes, especially those far from Jerusalem, who felt neglected and oppressed. When Solomon died, the fragile unity he and his father had built quickly unraveled. The northern tribes broke away, forming the kingdom of Israel, while the southern tribes remained loyal to the house of David and Judah. The once united nation was now split in two, with rival capitals in Samaria and Jerusalem. The era of the united monarchy was over. Two kingdoms, often at odds with each other, now stood where one had been. The dream of unity faded, replaced by suspicion and rivalry. This division left both Israel and Judah vulnerable. Powerful empires, Assyria to the north, Egypt to the south, watched with interest, ready to exploit any weakness. The divided kingdoms struggled to defend their borders and maintain their independence. The golden age of unity was brief, a shining moment in a long and turbulent history. The great divide between north and south would shape the destiny of the people for generations to come, influencing their politics, their faith, and their sense of identity. The first temple stood as a beacon of hope and faith, drawing pilgrims from across the land, yet even as the people worshipped together, the bonds of unity had been broken. The memory of what had been, a single nation under God, became both an inspiration and a source of sorrow. The longing for strength and security persisted. Leaders and prophets arose, calling the people back to faith and justice, but the challenges were immense. The divided kingdoms faced not only external threats but also internal struggles, corruption, idolatry, and the ever-present temptation to abandon their ancient ways. Surrounded by hostile neighbors and beset by their own divisions, Israel and Judah became targets for conquest. Armies marched across their lands, cities were besieged, and the people endured hardship and loss. The once mighty walls of their cities could not always protect them from the storms of history. The vision of a united nation, strong and secure, slowly faded into legend. Yet, the story of Israel did not end with division. Through every trial, the people held on to their faith, their traditions, and the hope that one day, unity might be restored. The next era would bring even greater challenges: conquest by foreign empires, exile from their homeland, and the struggle to preserve their identity in distant lands. But even in exile, the people of Israel would find ways to endure, adapt, and hope for a return. The legacy of David and Solomon, the memory of Jerusalem and the Temple, continued to inspire generations. Their stories became the foundation of a people's faith, a reminder of what had been achieved, and what might one day be possible again. Through every trial, the people's faith was tested, but never broken. Their prayers echoed through the centuries, carried on the winds of hope and longing. The land itself remained at the heart of their story, a place of memory, promise, and identity. From the rolling hills to the ancient cities, every stone and tree bore witness to the journey of a people. The stage was set for loss, but also for resilience. The trials ahead would be severe, but the spirit of the people would endure, shaped by the lessons of the past and the hope for the future. The journey of Israel is far from over. Through division and exile, through triumph and tragedy, the story continues, woven into the very fabric of history and echoing in the hearts of those who remember. The divided kingdoms face powerful empires, Assyria and Babylon. Israel falls first, its people are exiled and lost to history. Judah survives a while longer, but Babylon conquers Jerusalem, destroys the temple, and exiles its people. The Babylonian exile is a time of crisis, but also transformation. In exile, prophets like Ezekiel and Jeremiah offer hope. The people preserve their sacred texts and develop new forms of worship. Their faith is reshaped and their identity endures. 50 years later, Persia conquers Babylon. Cyrus the Great allows the Jews to return and rebuild Jerusalem. A dedicated group returns, facing hardship and hostility. They rebuild the city and the Second Temple, renewing their faith and community. Exile brings loss, but also resilience and hope. The people's connection to their land and faith grows stronger. The Second Temple becomes the new center of Jewish life. The story of Israel is now one of survival and renewal. From destruction comes rebirth. The journey continues, shaped by faith and perseverance. The next chapter brings new rulers and new challenges. The Jews return, but independence is fleeting. Under Persian rule, they rebuild society around the Second Temple. Greek conquest brings Hellenistic culture, dividing the community. The Seleucid king, Antiochus IV, tries to erase Jewish traditions, sparking the Maccabean revolt. Against the odds, the Maccabees win, cleanse the temple, and establish a brief period of independence. The festival of Hanukkah celebrates this victory. Internal conflict weakens the Hasmonean dynasty, inviting Roman intervention. In 63 BCE, Rome takes control. Independence ends. The Romans appoint rulers like Herod the Great. The land is now a province of empires, but the longing for freedom remains. The Second Temple stands, but tension grows. Into this world of Roman rule and Jewish hope, Jesus of Nazareth is born. The stage is set for new movements and upheavals. The struggle for identity and survival continues. The next era will bring destruction and transformation. Roman rule brings disaster. Jerusalem and the Second Temple are destroyed. The Jewish people are scattered and the land changes hands many times. Under Byzantines, Christianity dominates. Under early Islam, Jews and Christians are tolerated but taxed. Jerusalem becomes holy to three faiths. Crusaders and Muslims battle for control, leaving scars and shifting populations. In 1517, the Ottoman Empire takes over, ruling for 4 centuries. The land is quiet, sparsely populated, and shaped by many cultures. Through centuries of conquest, the Jewish connection to the land endures. The dream of return never fades. The land's history is layered with faith, conflict, and resilience. The next chapter will see ancient hopes reborn. The world is changing, and so is the fate of this land. A new era is on the horizon. For centuries, Jews in the diaspora long for their ancestral home. Zionism transforms this longing into a political movement. Theodor Herzl leads the call for a Jewish state. Jewish pioneers begin returning to Palestine, then under Ottoman rule. World War I brings British control and the Balfour Declaration, supporting a Jewish homeland. Under the British mandate, Jewish immigration grows, cities rise, and tensions with Arabs increase. Violence and unrest escalate as both peoples seek independence. The dream of a homeland is closer, but conflict looms. The land is a crossroads of hope and struggle. The world watches as the future of Palestine hangs in the balance. The next chapter will change everything. A nation is about to be reborn. The story of Israel enters the modern age. The Holocaust creates urgency for a Jewish state. In 1947, the UN proposes partition. Jews accept, Arabs reject. Israel declares independence in 1948, war with Arab neighbors follows. Israel survives and expands, but a Palestinian refugee crisis begins. Decades bring more wars: Suez, Six-Day, Yom Kippur, and shifting borders. Peace treaties with Egypt and Jordan show hope is possible, yet conflict with the Palestinians remains unresolved. Israel's story is one of survival, innovation, and ongoing struggle. The quest for peace continues. The nation grows, but challenges endure. The journey is far from over. Israel's history is written in stone as much as in scripture. Archaeology uncovers ancient cities, temples, and evidence of biblical stories. Discoveries like the Tel Dan Stele and Dead Sea Scrolls connect past to present. Modern Israel is a diverse, innovative nation, home to Jews, Arabs, and many cultures. The land's ancient echoes shape its modern identity. The story of Israel is one of resilience, faith, and renewal. From Abraham to today, the journey continues. The past lives on in every stone, every city, every dream. The future is still being written. The land endures, and so does its story.